Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie, and today we're back with another installment of my Destash series. This time we are finishing up going through all of my darker blues in my collection. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Alright, so we are at my desk now with my blanket on top to muffle the sounds. So let's just get into the time lapse. Okay, so here are all of the dark blues in my collection, which is definitely not a lot. It's like all in frame, which I'm kind of surprised by, but not at the same time, because I feel like with a lot of these darker blues, kind of just gravitate towards the same ones over and over again, which I'm sure you can kind of see the similarities. But before we get into separating like the color groups, you might remember in my last video, I mentioned with me, taking these and putting them on the floor, I accidentally dropped a bottle and it broke, and that was unfortunately Mooncat's Rue Morgue, which was one of my favorite Mooncat shades. Like, I loved that blue. And the crazy thing is that it broke against this A England shade. This is like, it's like a fracture inside, like I'm not cutting myself or anything here. I mean, maybe on the very corner there is like a little bit of a sharp spot there, but isn't that crazy that like there's this crack here, but this bottle is still somehow intact, and the Mooncat one just kind of broke like in half, like that way. So there was no saving it. Obviously it got here and on my carpet, which I did get out, by the way. It took a lot of blotting with acetone and a paper towel. I think there's kind of like a bleached looking spot now on the carpet, so whatever, but I would rather take a lighter spot versus a dark blue stain. So that was annoying, but not as annoying as dropping the bottle and then seeing like a few days later or a week later that Mooncat was not going to be restocking Rue Morgue. I am so devastated by that, but yeah. So anyway, I'm also kind of devastated about this bottle because obviously I know it's not safe to really keep this one because of this crack here, and it's a shame because I do like this one. But actually, you know what, maybe I don't have every single blue here. Yeah, I forgot to take out Holo Taco's Blue Freezy, but this is brighter and lighter than A England. This is Transylvania, by the way. I don't think this is going to be as dark as Holo Taco's. I think it's called like Sunken Ships or Sunken something, the dark rainbow holo. I feel like this is kind of an in-between shade. So yeah, like I really do like this shade. So I am going to hold on to it for now until I get a replacement empty bottle to pour it into. But yeah, I don't remember if I took this one out already with my lighter blues. Either way, I am going to be keeping both of these. But yeah, we're just going to be starting with everything that's in frame here. So organizing by some color groups, I feel like there are some shades that kind of stand out right away, being these like dusty peacock sort of blues. We obviously have some like cobalt and like navy shades. Also a few of these blues that like, I don't know, I thought were too dark to be cobalts that I shared in my previous video on like, the light blues. These are, I guess I would call them like darker cobalts. So we'll keep these somewhere up here. Okay, so there are a few slightly off camera here, but everything is still pretty much in frame. So I kind of have the darker cobalt or like royal blues, I think I would call them, up top here, a little bit going into the second row and going into like some darker, I mean, it's only like these two, I think, that are these super dark sparkly blues. Then this row and like these three here are kind of, oh, actually this one too, are kind of these like blue teal. Yeah, just blues that have a little bit more of a greenish undertone, whether it's like the shimmer or the base color, it's like a greenish gray. And then the even more grayed out blues are here on the bottom. And over here, maybe not this one, should go down here. These couple of blues up here are my navy creams. And since there's only 6 of them, we might as well start with these. I think I should be able to get rid of some of these because I sort of organized them at least in like little groups where these two look the same, these two look the same, and then these two look similar enough. So let me start with these two because I think these are the most like dupes. This is Olive Ave's Pluto and Arosa's Midnight. I know that I've talked about loving Arosa so much. They were just, you know, one of my favorite brands, but they aren't even around anymore. Still a few Arosa shades that I have in my collection, but at this point I would rather just kind of pass these along. Yeah, to my eye, these two are close enough. Like maybe the Arosa is like a little bit lighter, but it just is such a small difference. So I'm gonna set this one aside. Then these two, this is Mooncat's Into the Abyss and OPI's Midnight Mantra. It's probably hard to tell on camera because I feel like picking up the subtle nuances of blues is just so hard. I don't know if that's like an iPhone problem, a me problem, maybe, you know, my blue background is throwing it off, but I feel like I would call Mooncat more of a true like midnight blue, and OPI's has a little bit of like a, I don't want to say like a green undertone because it's not quite that, but it just is a different shade of blue. Between these two though, I think I do like the Mooncat a little bit more. So I'm just gonna keep that one. Lastly, for these two, I fear I want to keep both of these. I mean, I know for sure I want to keep the Static. This is Rio, which I've shared before, I think in my favorite blues video. I've shared it previously some year in my fall favorites. It has a little bit of ugly bottle syndrome, but it is just such a beautiful, like, grayed out kind of blue. I love shades like this so much. So I would say this is definitely an easy keep. From these, I would say that this is like my favorite of the 4, followed closely by the color department because, you know, hopefully you can tell it's just kind of a brighter sort of shade. Like it almost has a blurple kind of undertone. It's still just so dark. And it's still a few shades lighter than the Mooncat. So, you know, I don't know, in my mind, I feel like I can justify keeping these. So, you know, getting rid of the 2 creams, that's a good start. So I'll move these aside. And next, let's just go with these like blues here that are kind of the darker cobalt or like brighter mid-toned shade of blues. I really don't know how you would describe this color, if it's like cerulean or ultramarine. Let me start with Sky because I feel like I should have pulled this out in my last video because this is obviously not a dark blue, but this was from Island P's Electric Summer collection, so it's one of their magnetics. It's basically the magnetic version of Bluebell, which you might remember me saying like I wasn't super crazy about that, like it's kind of on the chopping block for me, but I did decide to keep it, you know, to give it another chance. With Sky, I actually think I'm going to put this in my destash pile because it's close enough in shade that I would rather choose one or the other. I don't want to have 2 maybe shades, you know what I mean? So if I still decide to destash Bluebell in the future, you know, I will. I'll get to that at some point, but I know for now I can pass Sky along. These 2 here are probably the next most similar ones because they're like these really dark, inky kind of shimmery metallic blues. This is Olive Ab's Reflection from their winter collection, and then this is Loud Lacquer's You Filthy Animal. I don't remember if I had compared these when I did my review for this Olive Ab shade. They're virtually the same kind of polish though. The main difference, which hopefully you might be able to see, is like the shimmer particle, where it's a bit smoother and finer and loud, giving it almost that like metallic kind of look, while Reflection, you could see like the little specks of shimmer a tiny bit more, you know what I mean? Also has a little bit more of like a jelly base, which you can kind of see moving around in there. So I think between these two, I'll keep the Olive Ab. I do like the Loud. I know that I've used it before. It's been really nice, but I don't know, I feel like Olive Ab is just a brand that I gravitate to more, you know? Other super dark blues that I think are pretty close are Island Peas Nocturnal, and Holo Taco's Playing with Sapphire. I know there's also, what is it called, like Going Solo from Holo Taco, which like is even closer to Island Pea, but I'm pretty sure I have already set that into my destash pile. But between these two, you know, I mean, they are like really similar. I think that Holo Taco does have more of a true sapphire blue color. The blue shimmer in Island Pea is a little bit more like indigo, so there's like a slightly more purple tone. Like realistically, I probably shouldn't keep both. I know for sure I do want to keep Playing with Sapphire because it's stunning, but I low-key also want to keep Island Pea. So you know what, I will, because I don't have that many dark blues, so I feel like I can be a little bit more flexible. But if anything, like if I had to choose, I think I would choose to keep Holo Taco. This one is also kind of similar, but not really. I feel like, I wonder if maybe this is closer to like these shades. Not really. I think it's more blue, but this is CX Polish Sub-Zero, which I for sure am keeping. Still holding out hope that CX Polish will return one day, but yeah, for now, I will be keeping that one. The only other like somewhat close shade is the Upside Down from Apocalypse Polish. This is another sparkly blue. I don't remember. I know that might sound so crazy to say because I feel like I didn't review this like that long ago, but I just don't remember like loving this one. I think I do prefer the other Apocalypse glitter, so I will set this one aside. I have a couple of creams here that I think are close enough-ish, maybe? Okay, I mean, I guess between these two, or these three, these two are the most similar. This is Island Pea's Tribute and Olive Ab's Rue. Both of these are okay. Between these, I actually like the Olive Ab more. I didn't care so much for this Island Pea shade. I don't know if it's because it has that like subtle patriotic undertone, which, you know, I am not really feeling. So yeah, I don't know. Even if it was called something different, I feel like this is just a shade that like didn't do it for me, so I will just set that aside. The other Olive Ab here is Signature, which was from a winter collection. This one is more of like a peacock kind of color, and it's a lot darker, like a little bit inky. I feel like on camera it's just kind of getting a little blown out, so you know, sorry about that, but I love this one for sure. I know that I want to keep this one. Then this one is Teddy, which is kind of more of that like cobalt, like a dark cobalt blue. I guess if anything, it's probably the closest. Well, on camera, it looks like it's somewhere in between the Mooncat and Color department, but in real life, I feel like it is a bit more vibrant. Like these shades are a little bit more grayed out. This has a touch more vibrancy, but honestly, I would rather just set this aside. I'll put these here to keep. The only other cream that I have here is Virgo, which is definitely another favorite. This one's more of like a blurple color, not really like a blue. Either way, we are keeping that one. I know for sure I'm keeping, well, there's a couple, but one that's calling out to me is Cracked Polish's Nuclear Coolant. This was from their Halloween collection. It's just so gorgeous. Oh my god, I love this finish. Also, want to keep What's Up Nails Undersea Rendezvous just because it's like a beautiful blue reflective. Oh my god, also Starly's Oceanic Moonlight. Oh, are you kidding me? This one is so stunning. Absolutely love that. Then from these few shades up here, I mean, I know, oh, I should have like pulled this one out before when I was talking about Island P's Nocturnal. This is Mooncat's Midnight Rider, which is a dearly departed shade, which I am so surprised by. I mean, that's like a whole other video talking about these dearly departed shades. These two are basically dupes, thankfully. So, you know, if you did miss out Midnight Rider, I'm not sure if it's like already sold out. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Island P's Nocturnal is 97% there. The biggest difference is that the holo glitter in Island P is just a bit smaller. Like you can see the specks in here are just like a slightly larger size, and maybe the shimmer in Mooncat is like a little bit more glowy, but like it's not that big of a difference, you know? I am gonna keep Island P and I will set aside Midnight Rider. Other Mooncats I have here, this one is Treachery in the Blue, which is one of their first thermals from last year. Let me give this a shake because I feel like I did test some of their thermals not that long ago, but I don't remember testing this one. So I am running a little bit warm. I also did just do one coat, so there's kind of a, I mean, no, I don't think that's a bald spot. I think that's just the way it's drying. So yeah, you can see it's definitely still transitioning, so that's good. It's not bad, so I will still keep this one. The other one I do also want to keep. Ooh, actually, I don't remember which one this one is. And is the other one here too? I think this is Twilight Sonata. No. What? Oh my god, what is this? This is one of the ones from the Fallen collection. Sometimes when I get polishes in PR, they send them, you know, before the labels are like printed or whatever. So there are a few shades that I just don't remember the names, which I know might sound crazy considering I do generally have a really good memory for that kind of thing. But it's because there's this one and then this one, which are from the same collection. So I always kind of forget which one's which. Oops, and I already messed up my nails. So I don't really see this one transitioning. Yeah, this one is the thermal. Okay, so then this one is Twilight Sonata. This one is Dark Night of the Soul. I don't know how I will remember that moving forward. I'm probably gonna always forget, but I know that I want to keep this one. Twilight Sonata, it's beautiful, but I feel like I would love it more if it just stayed in the cold state like that you see here. In the warm state, I mean, again, I only have one coat, so you know, not the best swatch, but the warm state is just like this mid-tone purple. It does have like a pretty blue shimmer, but I just like the cold state so much more, so I will set this one aside. Another one that I know I can set aside is Curiosity's Trap from the Pandora Unboxed collection. This is the magnetic that, hold on, yeah, it has that gold magnetic shimmer with like the blue base. It's giving my college colors, so I'm not the biggest fan. A lot of people love this one, but yeah, it is just not for me. There's a couple of Island P shades here, but I feel like these two are the most similar, but they're like not really at the same time. We have Songbird from last year's spring collection, which is the blue hollow jelly kind of finish, so I do want to keep that. And this one is Sea Glass, the Under the Sea collection, which is really pretty, but oh, you know what? I didn't take it out, and I don't remember if I took it out in my last video, but it's basically very, very similar to Oliveth's Coastal. And you know what? Yeah, I just would rather keep that one. I kind of like that it has like a smaller speckled shimmer kind of finish as opposed to this having the larger shimmer particle, which makes it look a little bit like a flaky. Definitely beautiful, right? Like it leans into the sea glass aesthetic for sure, but I just don't need multiples of like this shade. I also feel like I see a lot of people compare this to Mooncat's House of Hades, which, you know, I wouldn't call a dupe, right? Because House of Hades has the indigo base color, but the shimmer particle is like you know, kind of close. It's a bit darker in Mooncat. I don't know how well you can really see, but there is like a slight color difference, and I would rather stay with House of Hades. This other island pea that I do want to keep is Last Call. I love this one. Technically also more on the indigo side, you know. This actually does have like a purplish base, or at least like the shimmer is purple. It's like also very shifty. I love it. These last couple of shades here too, I feel like automatically I do want to keep. If anything, let me see how this Apocalypse compares to Holo Taco, because these are the only ones that are kind of like, you know, dupes to something else, being these like blue holos. Oh, but I think the right side up is also a thermal, if I remember correctly. It is cool, but I just don't wear thermals enough to like enjoy them. So I would hate for it to like die in my collection. So I'm gonna set this one aside. I do though kind of like the color a little bit more. It's like a little bit more of that denim blue, but it's just, I know it's not worth keeping, unfortunately. Actually, let me move that Holo Taco out of here. So speaking of Holo Taco, this other one, I mean, this technically has a gray base, but the shimmer is very blue. This is Shadow Lake from the, oh my god, what was it called? The Underglow collection, right? The winter shimmers. Love this one. So stunning. And these last two, we have Essie's Aruba Blue, which is an oldie from my collection. The fill line is like probably somewhere in the middle here, so I'm still gonna keep this one. If anything, this one's probably also kind of similar to Loud Lacquer, having that like metallic shimmer. This is a bit deeper in color. Again, it's probably hard to tell on camera, but yeah, that's fine. Keeping that one. And this is Zoya's Meredith. Yeah, because Merida is the green. This one is so pretty. Like, I remember loving this for like winter. This is such a beautiful winter shimmer kind of blue for me. If anything, it actually kind of reminds me of the super old polish from my collection. This is one of the, well, not like one of the first Avon polishes because it's like not that filled, but Avon was like one of the first nail polish brands, you know, that I ever got into because like my mom had it. So it's definitely one of the oldest in my collection. This one is called Blue Royale, and I think it dries down matte if I remember correctly, but it just has that same kind of like metallic sort of shimmery look, but this has more of that grayed out kind of color. I really love both though, so I'm gonna keep both, but yeah, let me move these out of the way. Okay, and moving on to these blue teals and blue grays, we might as well, you know what, we should probably start with this bottom row because this is where I have a couple of the creams. This one I definitely think is an outlier where it leans the most gray. This is Olive Spirulina. I don't think this one is around anymore, but hopefully it'll come back in the future because it's just such a cool blue. I love like gray blues so much, so I do want to keep that one. I think these two are probably the closest ones here. This is Starly's Tempest and Morgan Taylor's Just Hanging Around. Already, I feel like I am kind of leaning towards the Morgan Taylor. I know it's hard to tell. I only did one swipe of each, so you know, maybe not the most fair comparison. I do like that the Starly like is more blue, but the Morgan Taylor has this weird kind of like greenish gray undertone. I'm pretty sure this is the one that I shared in my polishes that remind me of Twilight. Like, I do like the Starly, but at the same time, when it comes to those like peacock blues, I know that I would kind of rather keep these Olive Ave shades. This is Olive Ave's Cerulean, which is just kind of another, you know, grayed out blue, but several shades lighter compared to the Starly and Spirulina, which I had just pulled out. So the Starly is pretty, but I can set this one aside. Like I mentioned, I do want to keep these two Olive Ave shades, which should be no surprise. This first one is Olive Ave's Raindrop, which is a staple in my collection. Hands down, one of my favorite Olive Ave shades. It has been ever since it first came out, so have to keep that. And this other one is Jostler, which I believe was from her very first fall collection. This one's like a little bit deeper in color. I feel like, you know, people would be like, yeah, you don't really need both, or maybe you can just keep Jostler and then add a holo on top, but like, I love Raindrop, and I also really love Jostler, so I'm gonna be keeping both of those. Other one that I had here is LA Colors Journey, which I reviewed on my channel like years ago when I first got this. Blue is maybe closer to that Starly I pulled out, but no, it's actually a lot lighter. It's a little bit more of a greenish undertone as well. So yeah, I mean, like looking at it, I'm reconsidering keeping the Starly, but at the same time, I feel like it's fine. Like I should just reach for Jostler, you know? Then for the specialty finish ones, we have these two Cirque shades. We have Blue Velvet, which is actually basically a dupe more or less for Island P's 0 Degrees. We'll say that Island P has a little bit more of that like vibrant, maybe cerulean kind of color. The Cirque, in my opinion, is like a little bit more cooler toned. And as I'm sure you might know, 0 Degrees is like another super favorite of mine from Island P. So I know I'm going to be keeping this one, so I can set Blue Velvet aside. This one is actually kind of more of a silver color. It's not really blue, and if it is blue, it's more of a lighter blue. This is Monolith, which is one of their multi-chromes. And, you know, famously, I always say that multi-chromes are not really like my favorite finish, but I think this one is so cool. It is just so unique. Gives me like these oil spill kind of vibes, going from, you know, like a cyan to a mint and even like purple in very extreme angles. I do also want to keep this one. And lastly, we are also going to be keeping Rainy Days from Island P's Overcast collection. I love the base. I love the flakies in this. This collection in general, chef's kiss, amazing. So yeah, we are keeping those. Moving on to these more like teal-y kind of blues. Okay, so I know that I said I definitely want to keep the Apocalypse. This one is Toto. I don't think we're in Hawkins anymore. Also mentioned we're keeping 0 Degrees, and I do know I also want to keep Snowstorm from Island P. Actually, oh wait. Okay, yeah, speaking of Snowstorm, here's another one that I didn't take out, but I don't remember if I took it out in like my teals video because I feel like it's a really, really dark shade of teal. This is Cirque's Dioptase from their Facets collection, which they retired. These two are like basically the closest to being dupes, but I cannot choose between them, so I'm gonna keep both. I'm gonna put Dioptase just back in the drawer though. And from here, the Holo Taco ones, this is Twice in a Blue Moon. I'm destashing this one. It's pretty. It's, you know, different-ish from 0 Degrees, a little bit darker, like more of a true blue, not much of a teal undertone in here. But this, to me, just smells so bad. I don't want it in my collection. Then this one is Steep Dreams from the David's Tea collab. Definitely very pretty, but at the same time, I'm not like super crazy over it. Like, I know that I love the finish of this one, and again, like the color is really pretty, but no, you know what, I'm like trying to convince myself to keep it, to give it another chance, but I probably wouldn't end up reaching for it. I think part of me just wants to keep it because, you know, it's part of the collab, but it's fine. I will just set it aside. Then this one is What's Up Nails Night Contrails, which is another magnetic. Love this one so, so much. I don't remember if I pulled this out either with Island P's Deep Space, because this is one that gives me night sky vibes. Oh, it is so beautiful. So I know I want to keep that. This is Lord from a previous Halloween collection, and this is invite only from a New Year's Eve collection. This actually has a black jelly base with the metallic teal microflakes. Stunning. Absolutely keeping that. This one is like that metallic shimmer kind of finish. Definitely a beautiful color, but not one that I would really I mean, I haven't really reached for this one. I'd rather just set it aside. Just to actually quickly compare it to Holo Taco's The Price is Alexandrite. It kind of looks like it has a similar color like in a specific angle, but Holo Taco is much more like green, a bit softer, and it also is very shifty, so it goes to like blue and purple. I've seen a few people share this with their Alexandrite like wedding rings, and it is a perfect match. It is so satisfying, and I can't believe that I forgot to include this one when I was doing my birthstone video. It's because I had this like on the floor. It was just in the pile. It wasn't in the drawers like when I was looking for, you know, polishes to fit the inspiration, and it just slipped my mind. So such a shame I didn't feature it, but yeah, this is a beauty. Lastly, we have Cracked Polish's Shut the Front Door, which if anything is like kind of similar to the Island P. I would say this is more of that like metallic sort of finish though. The Island P looks a little bit more of that like micro flaky, you know? And even still, I don't know. I think it's a nice color. It's cool, but it's just not one that I would end up wearing. So I will also set this aside. And finally, these are the last of my dark slate blues that are very gray in their undertones. If anything, I think the brightest one from here is Mooncat, or not Mooncat's, Cirque's Moodstone, which hopefully you can tell has a bit of a brighter, you know, kind of base. If anything, let me just show you. I'm pretty sure I've compared it before. Here it is next to Mooncat's Mercury's Tears, which, you know, at first glance, they look like they might be the same, but Mooncat has more of like a pink shimmer head on, while it's more of that yellowy color in Cirque, but they do both shift to like that extreme green. And the base color is also brighter in Mooncat, so pretty sure I had this one in my winter drawer, which is why it's kind of with these other shades that are more of these winter blues. But yeah, I'm gonna be keeping this. Only other wintry blue creams here are Av's MOTN, which stands for Middle of the Night, and Zoya's Brett, which my label is kind of messed up from having that like silicone sort of matte. I think it like, you know, produces oils or something like that. So some of the labels, I think, yeah, it's on some of the Olive Ave shades too. It's a little oily looking, but anyway, these two definitely different enough that I want to keep both. I love these shades of blue. Other for sure keeps with these Mooncat shades. Oh my god, Misery is my favorite color. I remember like, you know, not loving this collection so much. I love the concept, right, being these dark shimmers or whatever, but I feel like a lot of the shimmers were kind of on the subtle side. This one though, so stunning. Also, oh my god, RIP, this one needs to be shaken up, but this is my Asteroid, which is from their, I think it's called Toxic Wasteland collection, or they were like these micro glitters, and it's a beautiful shade of blue. I love it, so I want to keep it. This one is Apollo, which is another magnetic. One of my favorites. I had shared this one in one of my best of Mooncat videos, and a few months later, they're like, hey, we're going to be retiring it. Absolutely devastating. I hate when that happens. Whenever I talk about how much I love a polish, how much I recommend it, the brand is like, actually, it's going away forever. So I am keeping that one. And lastly, this one, I know it's like looks so red, purple, whatever, but this is Cyborg, which is one of their multi-chromes, and I love this one. I think it's so cool. Admittedly, not one that I wear a lot, but I don't want to get rid of it. It's just such a cool multi-chrome, even though I've like spilled, you know, polish and it's quite dirty. I still want to keep it. I got another absolute favorite from my collection. This is Powder Perfect's Nottingham. This is kind of an oldie. I've had this for several years. This brand sadly isn't around anymore, but I love this color. I've only shared it a couple of times on my channel before, but it feels like liquid gold in a way. It's just so incredibly dark and inky, kind of one of those shades of blue that's like so dark it could look black in most lighting. I don't know, there's something about it. I mean, I think like the shimmer that just brightens it up a little bit and just makes it read as a very dark blue. Super alluring. It just reminds me of a night sky. Adore it so, so much. The only one I think looks kind of similar maybe is Island P's Darkest Hour, which is actually a magnetic. So it does have like a silver shimmer against like a cobalt blue shimmer in a black base. But if you don't magnetize it, you know, and just apply it like that, it just has more of a silvery kind of finish. But I don't know, when it comes to like, you know, moody dark blues, this one is kind of the closest. So I do know I want to keep the Powder Perfect. I actually don't know if I want to keep Darkest Hour because I'm already keeping Nocturnal, which is what like, you know, the base of this looks like. And if I add Cirque's Chemistry, which is their silver magnetic topper, over Nocturnal, it's like basically a dupe, you know? So yeah, I just answered my own question there. This Island P though, I am keeping. This is by Nightfall. It's kind of like, I think I would describe it as like a dark, dark slate peacock blue. Like there's a little bit of a greenish undertone in this one. It is just such a cool color. I love that it has that like, you know, metallic kind of vibe. It's just so cool. Speaking of very like gunmetal-y, silvery blues, this one here is Holo Taco's Overshadowed, which, you know, is cool, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't do much for me. I think this just reads like a little too silvery with like a little hint of that blue undertone. So I don't know, it's nice, but you know, it doesn't really spark joy. So I am just gonna set it aside. I won't think too hard on it. I have a few more Island P shades here. This one is another oldie for my collection. I don't know if you can tell, it has the old label, but this is You Up, which is one of their holographic, like scattered type of jelly polishes, but in like a midnight blue kind of color. So I adore this one. If anything, it's like kind of close, but not really, to Set Sail, which is, I don't know, maybe more of like a royal blue. Hopefully you can see this has like a little bit more of that greenish undertone. I personally think they are different enough that I could keep both, so I will. Okay, so I feel like these 5 look the same, so I'll start with this one, which is, oh, I don't remember, and this has Mooncat's Rue Morgue all over it. Pretty sure this one is Starlight because the others from this collection are more of like those darker grays. Either way, it's from the Overcast collection. I know I'm gonna keep it. For these, actually, I can take this one out, because, or not like, I can remove it from this because this is Island P Shooting Star, which is a magnetic, so stunning, keeping it. These, well, technically this one's a magnetic too. This is Emily Damali's Expert Opinion, which I really, really love. It's just such a cool kind of color. Again, you know, those like dark slate blues, totally my thing. But I feel like it's so similar to like these other shades. I mean, these 3 are all shimmers, right? So I can keep the Emily Damali. From these, actually, technically, the A England is a holographic. It's not just a shimmer. If anything, I think the Morgan Taylor is kind of like an in-between. And this is the Avon that I mentioned was in my collection since I was like, you know, 8 years old or something. But I am gonna be keeping this one. I also really wanna keep this A England. I actually, yeah, I think A England is not around anymore, and that is quite a shame because I only have a handful of their like holographics. They were incredible. So yeah, the Morgan Taylor is beautiful, but I feel like it's kind of just too similar to this Avon one. So, you know, I can pass that along. So yeah, let me show you all the ones that I'm keeping. Okay, so here they are. I know it's still a lot, right? Like realistically, do I need 4 different kinds of navy blue creams? No. Do I also need a couple of these like peacock blue creams? No, but if you look at them, they are different. So I feel like I could just, you know, justify them, right? But yeah, giving these one more like kind of glance over, even though there are some that, you know, are kind of similar to each other. I feel like they do have stronger differences, maybe with the exception again of Holo Taco's Playing with Sapphire and Island Pea's Nocturnal. These two are probably like the closest, where again I should probably just get rid of Nocturnal, but I just don't want to, and I don't know why, because it's like they're so similar. Like the only other difference aside from the color that I mentioned is that Holo Taco has a scattered holo, which, you know, hopefully you can see there. And Island P has both a scattered and linear, like, you know, seeing that rainbow flare. It's just such a small difference. It's so small, you know? So I don't know. I'm still gonna keep both. Maybe I will revisit that in the future because, you know, these are in like my, well, this one's in my winter drawer. The Island P is in my fall drawer. And I know this one is definitely getting full. And now that we're like, you know, in the middle of summer, we're just a few months away before we start seeing fall collections. So this one might end up leaving my collection if it really comes down to it, but I do want to keep it for now, and I definitely am happy with everything else because these are just the shades of blue that I just really love. So now let me get these out of the way and then show you the ones that I am destashing. Here is my destash pile. I feel like, you know, I did a pretty decent job. Like I didn't count them, so I don't know the numbers exactly. Considering how many dark blues I started with, which, you know, was just like enough to fit the frame, I feel like this was kind of a whole row that I got rid of. I don't know, to me, this pile just looks like more compared to previous videos, but who knows, maybe it really is just like about the same, which that's also still good in my opinion. And again, I do think these are, you know, really pretty for the most part. Like if anything, the only one that I'm like, oh no, I don't like that at all is Mooncat's Curiosity's Trap. Just there's something about the gold and blue that isn't my favorite. And you know what, technically, I know Island P's Alice from their Illusions collection is kind of similar, but I like the brighter blue in that one. So between that and the Mooncat, I would rather get rid of this Mooncat. But realistically, I probably should also get rid of that Island P. But, you know, we're here now. There's enough that I got rid of. And yeah, this feels pretty successful. So that wraps up going through all of my darker blues in my collection. As always, I'd love to know what you thought of this video and what polishes I took out. Are any of them your favorites? Because again, I know that a lot of them are so pretty and it does sort of pain me to get rid of them, but at the same time, I just know that they're shades I don't really reach for, so they're just kind of taking up valuable retail space in my Helmers. I also feel like in general, I got through these blues pretty easy compared to some of the other previous colors where it was just a lot harder to let some of them go. I don't know if that's really progress from doing so many of these destash videos now that I just feel a lot better at deciding right then and there whether I should keep something or not, or if it's just the fact that dark blue isn't a color that I really wear super often, even though I do love it. It's almost like reds for me, where it's a color that I love, but I just don't really find myself like reaching for it super often. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the process of me going through all of my blues. I'm super excited to get into purples next. That one I imagine is also going to be a two-parter, probably between cool toned purples and warm toned purples, because I feel like purple is another color that just has so much like nuance, you know, but we'll see. We'll get to it when we get to it. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your favorite dark blues are, or ones that you were disappointed by and you destashed, or just let me know any and all thoughts you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!